Okay, so trying something new. We'll see if this is of value or not. So we want to go over our index laws. Laws, Mr. White. Okay, so our index laws, there's a number of them. We use them often, and let's go through them. Well, first of all, what is an index? If we have a number that is multiplied by itself numerous times, we could actually rewrite that in a much easier way and say that that is like 3 to the power of 4. Okay, now in this instance, the 3 is what's known as the base, whereas the 4 is what is known as the index. Okay, so when we're talking about index laws, we are talking about laws that govern the use of these indexes. Okay, so let's do the first one of those. We'll move all of our, that seems to be working okay. Okay, so the first index law. First index law is also known as the multiplicative law. I'm not going to try and spell that, but it's all about when indices are multiplied. So if I've got a to the power of m, and I'm multiplying it by a to the power of n, my answer is going to be equal to a to the power of m plus n. Okay, so in a practical sense, if I give you one that we'll look at, if I've got 3 to the power of 2 and I'm multiplying it by 3 to the power of 4, if I was to write that all out, I would write 3 times 3 times 3, then this times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. Now if I do it this way, where I am using my index law, I can just write this as equals 3 to the power of 2 plus 4, which would be equal to the power of 6. And I'm sure you've already picked up where I went wrong. An error I made is I wrote too many 3's down here. So here I've got 3 to the power of 2, and here they are, 3 times 3. Here I've got 3 to the power of 4, and here it is 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. So if I was to add all of those up, I would end up with 3 to the power of 6. So our first index law, here it is, just up here, that a to the m equals a to the a times a to the n will equal a to the m plus n. Okay, so very good. Let's go on to our second index law. So here it comes, the second index law. First one was all about multiplication. The second one is all about division. This one's called the quotient law, right? So if I have got a to the m and I am dividing by a to the n, and don't forget that can actually be written as a to the m over a to the n, means the same thing. My answer will be equal to a to the m minus n. Or same here, will be equal to a to the m minus n. Okay, so once again, if I was to actually do an example, I'll use 3's, why not? 3 to the power of 4 divided by 3 to the power of 2. Well, I could write that as 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 divided by 3 times 3. Now, as you know, if we have numbers on the top and the bottom, we can cancel them out. So that would be cancelled out with that one, this one would cancel out with this one, and I would be left with 3 to the power of 2. Well, if I did it just like the index law, 3 to the power of 4 divided by 3 to the power of 2, it will equal 3 to the power of 4 minus 2, which would be 3 to the power of 2. Okay, so once again, this law up here is actually the way that the law is written down algebraically, and that is the quotient law. That is the second index law. Okay, let's move on. We'll go on to our third one. This is our third index law. This one is pretty easy. This is called the Zeroth law, because it's all about an index that's a 0. A to the power of 0 equals 1. In fact, anything to the power of 0 equals 1. So if I had 4 to the power of 0, it equals 1. If I had 56 times 64 all to the power of 0, it equals 1. Anything to the power of 0 equals 1. So that one's pretty easy. Let's get into our fourth index law. Okay, so our fourth index law is all about brackets. And I'll go back to white. I got stuck in yellow there for a bit. A to the m to the power of n will be equal to a to the m times n. Okay? Because we know everything on the inside is multiplied by what's on the outside, if we actually had 3 to the power of 2 outside of the power of 3, well, we could write that as inside the brackets we would have 3 times 3, all to the power of 3. Now that we have worked out that bit, each of these parts need to be affected by what's on the outside of our bracket. So outside the bracket, we have got this. We've got our to the power of 3. So that means this 3 is being affected by the power of 3, and this other 3 also affected by the power of 3. So I would write it as 3 to the power of 3 times 3 to the power of 3. Okay? So, and we know that 3 to the power of 3 plus 3, because this is from the second index law, it will equal 3 to the power of 6. Okay? So, the other easy way to do it, of course, is here. We could have just written, I'll do it in a different colour. If we were working on this side, I would say that we could have 3 to the power of 2 times 3, which would be equal to 3 to the power of 6. And you will see that we have the same answer because that's because maths works out just nice like that. That is the fourth index law. The third one was the zeroth law. This one's known as the power of a power law. Okay, so far we have had the first index law, this one right here, which is the multiplicative law. We followed that with the second index law, which is this one. That is the quotient law, followed by the third index law, which is this one here, which is called the zeroth law. Then we've had the fourth index law, which is known as the power of a power law. Okay, so good recap so far. We will go to the fifth index law. So, the fifth index law. Okay, so the fifth index law is pretty simple, really. It's very similar to the fourth one. It's about removing brackets. You have to apply, well, if we had a plus, well, no, times, that'll do, a times b, and it's all to the power of m. Well, everything on the inside is affected by what's on the outside. Okay, so simple as that. The fifth index law is pretty simple. And the sixth index law is kind of similar, except that it relates to if there is a division happening. So if we had a divided by b, and it's all to the m, well, we would actually have a to the m being divided by b to the power of m. Okay, so everything that happens inside the brackets is affected by what's on the outside. So that is our index law review.